excited to be with you here today. I've been practicing search engine optimization since 1997, so I'm going to actually endeavour to share my 15 and more years experience in a 1-hour session. So it's going to be a jam-packed session. Each slide that we have has really valuable content that I'm going to share with you, but I encourage you to go back after the session and read through things. The other thing is that throughout the slides, and you're going to get a copy of these, we've provided hyperlinks so that if you want to learn more about anything, you can click on those and you can dig a wee bit deeper. So our session today is all about how we get more organic traffic to your website and your articles. We're going to talk about SEO and why it's important. We're going to talk about how you can build SEO-friendly articles. We'll talk about how to use Search Console, which is a really valuable and excellent free tool that we use all the time to optimize and help with your SEO. And then we'll talk about how to improve the visibility of your website in search and how to use Search Console. So lots of different things that we're going to be covering today. But let's start with, like, what is this? Why are we here? What is this all about? This is all about helping your articles get found when people are searching. And people typically search using Google. Google's by far and away the top search engine worldwide. It's got over 90% of the market share. But there are other platforms like Bing, Microsoft's equivalent. The good thing to know is that the techniques that we are going to talk about today apply to the search engines like Yahoo or Yandex that aren't as well used, let's say. So covering the stuff that we're going to cover will cover all search engines. But obviously, it's got a focus on Google. It's also interesting to understand and important to understand when thinking about SEO, how search works, how search on the internet works. So what happens when you do a search? I'm guessing I've already done a couple today. I'm guessing that you guys have got a habit of anytime you want to know anything, you're doing a Google search. I'm like that too. You know, I'm sitting watching TV at night and I'm like, who's that actor and what were they in? And I get my phone and I search for things. I'm searching for recipes. I'm searching for articles. I'm searching to learn things. When I or you and I perform a Google search, the Google bot spiders, they're like wee spiders, they crawl the web in search of relevant content. That's then indexed. It's all arranged by Google, the Google algorithm, and then it's shown in the SERPs, the search engine results pages. And all this is done in a matter of milliseconds. So when determining which results to go, when determining which results to show in the results that you see, there are about 200 different factors, components that Google takes into account. We don't know what all of these are. We've got a really good idea, but Google doesn't like to tell us because that's its trade secrets, and it's all part of their algorithm. But we're going to look at some of the most important ones here today. It's important to also remember that Google takes into account an individual's search history as well. So the results that show up when I search are going to be different from the results that, you know, if we're both searching for the same thing and you search for something in your computer and I search for something on mine, Google's going to show different results to us based on the search patterns and the things that we have searched for in the past. So no two search results are the same. So how do people search? People search in different ways according to what they're looking for. So if someone knows your magazine, they might enter its name in the search engine and do what's called a direct search. If they're interested in a wide topic, they might enter an informational search that might include a short keyword search or phrase. If they're looking for something more specific, they're going to use a phrase that might be longer. So typically, yesterday I was looking for it's cold I'm looking for a new sweater. So I started searching for wool sweaters. And then I started, okay, there's a few different places who sell them. Then I started for searching for cream wool sweater in Vancouver. So as I got deeper into my search, I started getting more specific. So it's important for you to take that into account when you're thinking about how to optimize your articles. Over time, both searchers and search engines have become much more sophisticated. So it's very important when creating and optimizing your articles to actually give some thought to who it is that who's going to be searching for it, who's going to be interested in this content, and to think about the words and phrases that they might use to search for your article in question. We're going to talk a lot more about keywords as we get into the session, so more on that shortly. Why is SEO important? SEO stands for search engine optimization, and it's important because it helps people who are interested in your content to find it. Simple as that. Without it, your site or your articles might not show up in the search results. Well, they might show up, but they might be on page 6 or 7. Typically, people will only search, they'll look at the results on the first page or the second page. If it's something they're really interested in, they'll look at the third page. They don't typically go down to, page 6 or 7 or 8 or 9 in the search results. So if you don't optimize your articles and properly, you've got a chance that people might not actually find your content. So that's one of the main reasons why SEO is important, is it helps the people you want to find your content and your articles, it helps them to find it. It helps drive traffic to your website. It helps get more eyeballs on the articles that you have. So it's really, really important, and it's really, really fun. SEO is something that you can see the results really, really quickly. Unlike things like, social media or Google ads, I feel like with SEO, you have more control over this. If you do it right, you can bubble up to the top of the rankings relatively quickly. That kind of depends on how much competition there is for the words that you're looking to rank for, though. So, and again, I'm going to step you through how to help you rank higher as we go through our session today. So, how can SEO help with your articles? SEO really falls into 3 categories. And, I didn't mention this, but it's like a cockpit in my office here. So I've actually got 3 screens going. And if you see me looking over here, it's not because I'm rude. It's because it's actually bigger for me to see it on the screen over here. But SEO can help with your article in various different ways. Ultimately, it helps people to find your articles. It helps you to organize your articles in ways that are Google friendly, so that Google finds it, it crawls your page, it organizes it into the index that you want to see in the search results when people are searching. So, but first of all, we really need to think about and understand all the parts of SEO, because there are different disciplines or different components that we need to take into account when thinking about how we can improve and help people find your articles more. So there are 3 types of SEO. The first one is probably the hardest. It's technical SEO, and sometimes I'm not technical. I'm not a coder. Sometimes for technical SEO, we need to bring in a developer to help us with those aspects. The second thing is off-page SEO, and those are things that you do on other sites, not your own page, not your own website, on other external sites that help impact and influence Google. So, and then the third one is things that you do on your own page, on your website, in your articles, to optimize them, to again make sure that Google sees them and acknowledges them and hopefully shows them in the search results. So I'm going to go a wee bit deeper into what each of these are, because they're very important and they all sort of feed together to help you to show better SEO results. Now, I know that we're going to have questions at the end, but I'm also going to keep an eye on the chat. So if there's anything that you want to jump in and point out as we go through, I'll try to keep an eye on the chat as well and answer it in real time. So technical SEO is the most complex of the three that we've touched on. It covers things like how your site is coded, how fast the site is, and things like core web vitals. Depending on depending on how technical you are, sometimes it requires a developer, as I mentioned, but there are technical aspects that you should be aware about and that you can fix quite easily without having to have a developer. If Google notices things that are broken on your site, like links from one page to another, or links that hyperlinks that you have in an article that maybe are broken, maybe you've linked out to an article that's a reference and that website has taken down the article, Google notices that and it thinks it's a red flag. So if you have things like that on your site where things are broken, Google notices that and that will impact where your article or your site ranks. So it's very important to make sure that there are no broken things that Google might be seeing on your site. It's important to make sure that your site loads quickly, that your site is secure, that it works on all devices. So, more people use smartphones to read articles than they do at their desktop. So making sure that your website works on a smartphone or on my screen, which is huge as well. So it should be well coded. It should be structured in a way that's easy for visitors to navigate. You should have a menu bar that people can easily know where they go, where they need to go to find the right information. You should also make sure that you're using htaccess and robots.txt files and using them properly to allow Google to learn a wee bit more about your content. Robots.txt and htaccess files are files that really tell Google a wee bit more about the pages that you want it to see and the pages that you maybe don't want Google to see, so that those pages aren't showing up in the search engine results. And yes, you will all get copies of the slides that you can read and click through. There's lots of valuable content in the links that we've provided here. So later in the session, we're going to show you how to do one of the most important of these, and that's to check to make sure that there are no crawl errors or issues. And the tool that we use to do that, one of the tools that we use to do that is Google's Search Console tool. That allows us to check to see if there are any issues that Google might see with your site, and then it allows us to fix them. So technical SEO is maybe a wee bit one of the harder ones, but it is really, really important. The next one that I want to touch on is off-page SEO, and that centers around things that you do on external sites rather than on your own site. So one way that Google determines the value of your site is by the number of visitors and how long people stay on your site. So one valuable aspect of off-page SEO involves driving traffic to your site from other channels. So for example, if you're driving traffic, you're using your Facebook page, you maybe have LinkedIn, the traffic from LinkedIn to your website, Google sees that you're getting lots of traffic, and then it recognizes that, oh, this article is really popular, we're going to show it to more people. So the traffic that you get to your site is an important off-page SEO factor. Another factor is the domain ranking and history. A higher domain ranking, again, shows Google that you're trusted. One of the best off-page SEO tools that Google, or best ways that Google determine how a site will rank, is by the links it has from external sites. And it's a wee bit like being at a party. you're at a party and you show up with Kate Middleton. If I show up at a party with Kate Middleton, you're going to know that I'm highly ranked. It's a wee bit the same with websites. If you have links from trusted, established sites that Google knows, that helps your site to rank higher. So how do you go about getting these? There are two key ways, and the key involves links. So what we found, we actually conducted a wee experiment. I'm hearing all kinds of things about AI, and I'm sure you are right now. AI can write articles. So we conducted an experiment on our website, on our blog. We had AI write an article, and we had a writer who's a really fabulous writer write an article. And what we found is that Google likes writers. They like proper, real writers. They're not so keen on AI at this point. Who knows what's going to happen in the future? But if you write really good quality articles, you know this yourselves. They're going to get backlinks because other people read them. It's valuable. They are more likely to link to your articles from their articles because your articles are awesome. So that's what a backlink is. It's a link from an external site back to your site. And they're important because the more you have, again, the higher Google is likely to show your articles in the results pages. So you've got an advantage over most people because as writers and journalists, you're already writing great content, and well-written articles get people to naturally want to share and link from their own articles or their own blog posts. You can also perform outreach, encouraging bloggers or other influencers to link back to your site. So for example, if you had written an article about an ice cream festival in Calgary, that might be of interest to a Calgary blogger that you know. So you might reach out to that Calgary blogger and say, oh, we've written this article about top 10 places to eat ice cream in Calgary. If they link back and their site is trusted as a high domain authority, that helps improve the ranking of your site. So that's an important part of getting backlinks. Another way to get backlinks is to make sure that your site is listed in citation sites. So for example, I think Alberta Magazines has a directory listing. If your URL is listed in that directory, that's a valuable link for you as well. Those citation sites are like low-hanging fruit, but you have to be a wee bit careful with them because you would only want your site to be listed in a directory that is applicable to your business and your geography. So there's no value in having a magazine listed in a directory in Scotland, for example, because your site isn't in Scotland, unless perhaps you're worldwide and you're looking to attract a Scottish audience. Internal links are also valuable. Internal links are links from your articles to other relevant articles or other pages on your site. Those are valuable because Google then sees those and knows to navigate to other pages on your site. And then the third sort of type of links is links from your site to external sites. And again, those might be links to give people more information about where you found your information from when you were writing the article. So sources or references. Again, those are important. You don't want to have too many of them in your articles, but you also want to make sure, and you also want to make sure that they are, the link works. Because if they're broken, as I said, that's a technical SEO factor that's a red flag for you. So technical SEO and on-page SEO are important, but the one that we have the most control of is your what we call on-page SEO. And this is the one that you've all been waiting for. It's probably one of the most important factors. And when it comes to on-page SEO, this is all about optimizing your articles so that they rank higher in the search terms. This means that you need to find the right keywords and use them in the right places. That's one component, or one of the most important components of on-page SEO. As I mentioned before, writing quality content is huge, but if you also know where to put your keywords and where to and how often, that's going to help Google to recognize your content and help it show up higher. So structuring it properly, using the right keywords, making sure it's relevant to your audience, breaking out each section of your article into readable chunks. We recommend that you have readable chunks with headings and that you use keywords in your headings and subheadings. These are all factors that are hugely important. But the first thing that's the most important is to make sure that you're using the right keywords, or knowing and researching what those right keywords are. So I know you're wondering, what are keywords? What does Google see as keywords? So keywords are words that are relevant to your article, and they might be words that people are Googling, they're searching on Google to find the content that's contained in your article. These are terms that you want your article to rank for, and there's research and results pages, and they might relate to your journal or your magazine. They might relate to the areas of focus or your topics covered in the article. It's going to relate to your content, and it's going to relate to your articles as well. It's important to research and choose the right keywords. And if you do that, you will have better results with your traffic. You're going to drive more traffic to your site. More people are going to find you. How do you know if you're using the right keywords? Well, thankfully, there are all kinds of tools that allow us to research what people are searching for in Google. You can even break these down by geography if you have a specific geographical audience. So these are some of the tools that we use, and let me see if this is going to work. I am just going to open up the Google. This is the one that all of the other ones are based on. If you are running Google ads, this is free for you to use. Even if you're not running Google ads, I believe that as long as Google has your credit card, you're going to be able to use this. So if you sign in to Google Ads, I'm just going to quickly sign in to my Google Ads and give you a quick example. Let me just find our one, and you can go in here and you can use Google Ads to research keywords. So you can use it to discover new keywords. You might enter something like, maybe you're writing an article about coffee. You're writing an article about coffee or tea. And you can enter as many keywords as you want here. And then Google actually, let me just enter a valid keyword. Google goes off and tells you the search volume for these keywords. And you can go in and you can say, well, I'm most interested in Alberta for those keywords. Oh, if I could type, it would be better. And Google, let me remove Canada. We're going to say Alberta. And then you can actually see what the search volume is for coffee or tea in Alberta over the last month. So we can see that more people are interested in drinking coffee than drinking tea. The important thing to look at here is your average monthly search and your competition. When determining the keywords that you want to use words that have a high search volume and low competition. So as you scroll down here, you can actually see other keyword ideas that might be relevant to your article. So you can scroll down, there's probably lots of them. You can choose to omit brands by removing these if you didn't want to mention any brands. And you can add different selectors by product. You can choose languages and different components. So this is our favorite keyword research tool. I'm going to go back to our slide here because these are all free tools that you can use to research your own keywords. Search Console, Google Trends is another fantastic one. Google Trends is awesome because it can help you determine what you might want to write about and when you should write about it. So I did one here earlier, keeping on the topic of coffee and ice cream. I was interested to see, what the search patterns were for things like ice cream, gelato, hot chocolate, pumpkin spice, coffee. And we can see once again that coffee is the most searched. We can also see that, ice cream is pretty popular as well, but it peaks in the summer. So if you were, and this is a wee bit obvious, but if you were going to write an article, writing an article about ice cream in the summer is going to be great. Also, pumpkin spice, you can see it picks up starting at the end of August. People start searching for the pumpkin spice. So Google Trends is really great because you can see what the search trends are, and you can break it down by, province. You can break it down by timelines as well. So that's a really fun tool that might be useful for you. So Google Trends. When you're doing your keyword research, the important thing to remember is your volume and your competition. And what you're aiming for are words that have lots of search volume. That's your priority. But if you hope to rank higher, you also want to find words that have medium to low competition. That's getting harder and harder. If you were to search for, if you had determined that one of your keywords was automobile, you would be up against every car company on the planet. However, if you were writing an article about a specific type of car, maybe it was a 1960, I don't know what the names of 1960 cars were, but if I were to search for red Toyota Corolla in Calgary, then the keyword research the volume is probably going to be lower, but the competition is going to be lower too. So we call that long tail keywords. You're still looking for long tail. You're still looking for high volume in your long tail keywords, but it helps it make it more specific. So keywords research, you're looking at your volume, you're looking for your competition, and your goal is to identify keywords that are relevant, that are high search volume, and mid to low competition. And with the right keywords, you're going to be able to understand what users are searching for and take the opportunity to provide content that people are looking for, and use this to your advantage to create topics that are going to drive traffic to your articles. When working on an article, we recommend identifying 1 to 2 primary keywords. These can be synonyms too, and several secondary keywords. Usually when we're doing it, we usually determine up to 6. Once you've researched them, you should use them sparingly in the content. You don't want to use them more than 10 times per 10,000 words. Remember that you're writing for people. It's always more important to write for real live readers than it is to write for SEO. So despite what I'm saying, there's a wee bit of balance, but the rule of thumb is no more than 10 times per 10,000 words when you're thinking about how frequently you should use your keywords. Use them as close to the start of the title as possible. Use them in your meta description. I'm going to get deeper into what titles and meta descriptions are in a second. And use your primary header in your header tags. So when you're creating the articles on your site, you have the option to create H1, H2, H3, all the way to H6 header tags. Google likes you to use all of them. All of your H2 to H1 to H6 header tags. It begins to look like a mess though if you're using all these weird header tags all over the place. So we recommend that you use up to H3. You use your main keyword in H1. It's also important to only have one H1 header tag on each page. If you have too many H1s, that confuses Google. You can also use your keywords in your image alt tags, but image alt tags are more about making your site content accessible to people who are using screen readers. So we recommend that you only use your keywords in there if it makes sense, if using that helps you describe what the image is all about. But it is something that Google sees in the code. So if it does make sense to use your keyword in there, and it describes appropriately what the image is about, then go ahead and use your use your keywords in your image alt tags. It's really important to avoid keyword stuffing at all costs. That means you don't want to repeat your keywords too often. Again, that makes your article unreadable. It's not going to be great quality, and quality always trumps quantity when it comes to everything with digital marketing. So that's where your keywords go. In your content itself, when creating the article itself, it's possible to have multiple keywords that you might target. The frequency of these keywords should depend on the length of the content. So again, if you have 10,000 words, you shouldn't use those keywords more than 10 times per 1,000 words. It's important to avoid repeating the same keywords over and over again. Linking keywords to other pages on your site through anchor text can be beneficial. So if you have a keyword that relates to another article, you can link to that. Again, that helps Google to see what the article is about. That's a beneficial habit to get into when writing your articles. And also including the keyword in the first sentence and in the headers will also help you with optimization as well. So these are important things to consider when you're writing your article. I know that as journalists and as writers, it might not be you might not be as comfortable writing in that way. So again, it's a wee bit of a balance between using the tricks and techniques that I'm mentioning to you, and then also balancing that with the way you write and your writing style of your journal or article itself. So meta titles and descriptions. These are this is what a metadata title and description would look like. Your meta title is this one here. Let me see, can I get my wee cursor going here? I'm not sure. The top one in purple, it's very familiar. When you search anything online, this is what the results show for articles, for pages. The top line in purple is your meta title. Below it is your meta description. And this is often the first impression that people might see if they're searching on Google. So you want to take time to make sure that your meta title and description are optimized as well as you possibly can. So the meta title is probably the main one. It should be less than 60 characters. It can be longer, but if your meta title is longer than 60 characters, it's going to get cut off. So try to keep it between 50 and 60 characters as much as possible. Your keywords should go, or your primary keywords should go at the start if that's possible. And it's best to capitalize your meta title so that it stands out. We also like to use the vertical bar symbol. Here, you can see it on the page here between primary keyword, secondary keyword, and journal magazine. That helps to separate things out. If you're already ranking for your magazine name, you don't necessarily need to use that in your meta title, and that frees up valuable character real estate. Although you might want to do it because it gives your article credibility. So about in the middle of the page here, you have an example of what a meta title would look like. You include your primary keyword, your secondary keyword, and the name of your journal, if it makes sense to do so. And you can click through on these links here to learn more about creating meta titles or title tags. The next one is your meta description. Descriptions aren't a ranking factor. And Google doesn't actually take them into account when determining where your site is going to rank, but they're really important because they are your article's first impression. It's a preview and one of the first things that people are going to see about your articles. So if you're using keywords in there too, it helps to line things up. So if I'm searching for something and I see the first thing that shows up in the results includes my keyword and it's in the title and in the description, I'm more likely as a searcher to click through on that. So using the keywords in there too is going to be beneficial. Now, important things to remember about your meta description: they shouldn't be more than 155 characters. Again, because if they are longer, they are going to be cut off. Google cuts it off at around 156 characters. So try to keep them around 150 to 156 as much as possible. Another important thing to remember about your meta description is that even although you have added them to your website, and I'm going to show you how to do that in a second, Google sometimes ignores them. So Google sometimes actually takes the first couple of sentences of your article itself and shows that up as the description. We don't have any control over that, unfortunately. And but it's just an important thing to know. You should also try to have some kind of call to action or enticement in your article. You don't want to make it marketing-like or sales-like in your meta description, but you want to include something that piques people's interest, that makes them want to click through to learn more. Each article should have a unique description, and these can be used by Google in your search results. And again, we've included links that you can use that you can learn more. If you click on the links that we've included in this slide, you can learn more about crafting really, really great meta descriptions. And I see that Costana's on my team, so thanks, Costana. She's adding some links in here for you also. So there are easy and more difficult ways to add your titles and descriptions to your website. If your site is hard-coded, you would probably have to go into the code and add it into the code on the site, or get your developer to do that. But these days, I'm going to assume that most of you are using a WordPress or a similar CMS, and that makes it really, really easy because there are plugins like Yoast. Yoast is the most popular SEO plugin. The other one is All-in-One SEO. They're fantastic. They make it easy for us to enter our meta titles and descriptions. So this slide shows the hard way to do it, but if you have Yoast or All-in-One SEO, you can add it quite easily. Yoast is actually fantastic. The premium version of Yoast, which I think is about maybe 80 bucks, it gives you, you can actually do keyword research on it. It gives you a green light traffic system that shows you if your title and description is the right length. And typically what happens is you open up the article, or you're writing your article, you scroll down to the bottom of the article and you will see the area, the Yoast area, where you enter your SEO title, you enter your slug. Your slug is really what the URL is. You should also use your keyword in your URL as well. So Yoast is a fantastic tool as it gives you a preview of what it's going to look like. Also, you can see what your meta titles and descriptions are going to look like on mobile or on desktop. So Yoast is our friend when it comes to SEO. You can also set up Yoast so that it auto creates your meta titles and descriptions, but we actually recommend that it's better for you to create them yourself, because that way you get control over what shows up in there, especially with your titles, because you can enter your keywords rather than Google Yoast just deciding what should show up there arbitrarily for you. I'm always a big believer in humans are better than technology when it comes to these things. So as writers, I don't need to tell you that taking time to craft your great headline or title for your article is most important. Crafting content for the web is a little different from creating content for traditional print writing though. So your headline should be unique. It should be specific. It should include at least one of your primary keywords, and it should include encourage people to read on. You want to write a headline that really makes people want to click. It should be ultra specific. It shouldn't be obscure. You know, if people, Joyce and I were talking about this last week, if you wrote an article that was maybe called Hot Potatoes, I don't know if you're talking about mashed potatoes or something, might be something completely different. It's probably got nothing to do with potatoes at all. It's going to be ambiguous and confusing for people. So your headlines online really should be less artsy, unfortunately, and more specific so that people understand what they're looking for or what they're going to find once they read it. The next thing that I want to jump into is Search Console. Spent a lot of time explaining what SEO is. Search Console is a tool that we use practically daily when we're reviewing our site to see how things are doing, to see how it's performing in terms of keywords. Search Console is a tool that is free to set up. It's a Google tool that it's like a health monitor. Your website's wellness tool is a good way of describing it. And as I said, it's free for you to set up. Search Console allows us to understand how our site is performing. We can get access to performance reports. It allows us to determine some of the technical factors to see if there are any technical errors, crawl errors, or indexing coverage issues with your site. It allows you to inspect your URL. It allows you to do things like tell Google that you don't want this URL to show up in the search results. It also allows you to submit what's called your sitemap. So when you're launching a new site, it's really, really good to submit your sitemap to Google, because that tells Google about all the different pages on your site. So Search Console is fantastic. If you haven't already installed it on your site, we've included instructions for you to do so. I'm not going to step you through that as part of our session today, because it takes a wee bit of time, but it is actually relatively easy. All you do is set up your Search Console account, add a wee bit of code to your website. Usually you have to wait a couple of days for it all to start populating. And then after that, you can start digging into some really, really valuable information about your site. And that's what we're actually going to do now. So we actually had a guinea pig, and we are using Alberta Views as the guinea pig for our Search Console today. So thank you to the team at our Alberta Views for letting us share their Search Console information with us. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to look over here, because my Search Console is on my other screen here. So and I'm going to give you a wee tour of the important things that you can access when you're thinking about Search Console and your website. So you can check the first thing that you see when you log into Search Console is the overview. And you can see here that you have an overview of the performance of your site. You can see indexing, you can see page speed or experience components. You can see any suggested enhancements that you have. The first thing that I like to do when logging in here is to click into your insights, because it gives you a high-level performance review. You can see how many clicks that you've had to your site from Google search over the last 30 days. You can see your content that's growing, how, articles that people are engaging around. You can see what your most popular content is, and you can also see the keywords that people are using when they're searching. So this is huge. It's always really important to check in with your insights. From there, you can click on your performance. And you can click on this to see, well, there's a couple of different ways. You can do it through your screen here. So you can click through to your performance report, or you can access this from the left-hand side panel as well. So what this report is telling you is how many clicks your site has, how many total impressions. You can see your average click-through rate. Sort of rule of thumb for an average click-through rate is anything above 3% is pretty good. You can also see what your average position is here. And you can see this by, it's broken out by queries. So we can see that for Alberta Views, Alberta Views is the top query or search query that the people are putting into Google. We can see Donald Freeland, Alberta Views magazine. You can scroll down to see how what search terms or keywords people are using when they're searching for content on the Alberta Views site. And you can see it. There's lots of them. You can also view your pages. So you can see which pages are the most visited in terms of clicks, impressions. This is really valuable. Your fourth column here tells you your positioning. This is your rank when people are searching for it. So we can see that which pages over the last 3 months and where they rank for your articles and content. So you can also change this up if you were interested in something over the last 7 days. You could apply that. If you were interested over the last 12 months, you can choose different components from there as well. So as you scroll through, you can see devices, which countries, how the search appearance looks like, and dates as well. So lots of really, really valuable information here about different specific content. So one thing that you might look for in the performance results is you might be looking for an article that has lots of impressions, but maybe a low search or a low, click-through rate. So this might be a good example for us to take a wee look at. Let me just actually scroll down. Maybe I can find a better one. So this has this one. Let's take a wee look at this one. Sorry, and again, I appreciate you being a guinea pig for me here. But you can see here that this article about Edmonton Calgary hour has quite a lot of impressions. It's got a good lot of clicks, but the click-through rate isn't that high. So let's actually, what I would do is I would click through here just to see, well, what could we do to this article to optimize it a wee bit better? So the first thing is Edmonton to Calgary in an hour. I mean, the title implies to me that it's an article about how you get to Edmonton. And as it turns out, the article is pretty specific. One thing as I notice as I go through the article is that one suggestion I might make if I were to optimize it is to split each component up into sections and maybe include headers in there. So you might have, this'll be your H1, this will be your H2, but you might have H3s throughout that you might include your keywords in to perhaps get more eyeballs on that specific content. That's one good way of looking through and improving the articles that you already have. Google really likes to see you updating articles. So one other good thing that you can do, this is more to do with Google Analytics, is to, if you see an article that was maybe written on your site or you posted on your site a few years ago, but it's still getting good traffic, it's good practice for SEO to go in and update that article because Google sees that you've updated it as well. So that's a good practice and something that you can go and improve on your articles in there. The next thing that I wanted to show you with regard to Search Console is some of the issues that you might occur or that Google might see with your articles. So if you want to check on the health of your site to make sure that Google is not noticing anything broken with it, you would click on your pages on the left-hand side. Again, you can see it in your overview as well. Click on pages, and you can see the pages that are not indexed and the pages that are indexed. And if you scroll down here, you can actually look to see if there are any issues with the site. Now, excluded by a no index tag, I would expect that these are deliberately excluded because maybe they're older articles that you don't want people to see anymore. Pages with redirects, these probably are ones that are fine as well, because they are probably more like maybe you've built a new site and you want to redirect them. The ones that I'm looking for, though, are things that might be blocked. So if there's an issue, you might want to look at to see, and this one I know this, you don't want Google to see this, so that's not an issue with it because it's an admin component. You don't want people searching and finding your admin components. If you were to find ones that had 404 errors or issues, that would be something that you might want to dig into to see if there's something wrong with your site. You might want to look at anything that's forbidden, again, just to make sure. This looks to me like you don't want Google to see it, so that's not an issue with it at all. Now, sometimes Google actually notices things that are wrong with your site when they aren't actually wrong. So it's often a good idea to try validating a fix before you even do anything, and then coming back in a couple of weeks and seeing if it's still an issue before going through it again. So lots of things that you can do with Search Console. If you're redesigning your site, it's important to submit your sitemap. So I actually see for Alberta Views that you don't have a sitemap. I would encourage you to do it, even though Google's seeing a lot of your pages. It's a good practice to submit your sitemap to Google in there. And then the last thing that I wanted to touch on in terms of Search Console is links. Remember, we talked earlier about the value of links on your website. This is where you go to find how many links you have. So you can see here, you have your external links, you have your internal links, and you have your top linking sites. So internal links would be ones from your site to other pages on your site. These are the links that the one on the bottom left-hand side are links and the websites that link back to your site. Good practice to actually go through these to make sure that none of them are spammy and to try to disavow any of the spammy ones. The most important, though, are your top linked pages. So if you go in here, you can see the articles that have the most links, and you can actually click to see what the linking sites to those articles are. Now, I know that one question that we got before the call was, is there a way for us to do this without over time, so we can see? Search Console doesn't let us do it over time, unfortunately, but there are other tools that you can use, and I'm going to share those with you in a second. So again, in your own time, we've included information on the things that you can click into on Search Console, the things that are important. So you can go through these slides here and identify underperforming pages and keywords. You can check your article's ranking and performance with the guidelines that we've provided for you. You can also look at your crawl indexing and mobile optimization as well. And you can go through, use the instructions that we've provided to understand where to find links and what to look for in there. Now, I realize that we're running a wee bit late, but I also wanted to show you one of the things that we do. And again, we had a guinea pig, and Joyce suggested that we run an SEO audit for the Irma magazine. And I know that Irma magazine is one that hasn't been updated for a wee while, that Joyce can give you some background in the chat. But we use a tool called SEO Power Suite to audit the site. And as you can see here, there are quite a lot of issues. So what I wanted to show you was an SEO Power Suite is a free tool that you can use. There are other tools that you can use to audit your site from an SEO perspective. SEMrush is one of them. Ahrefs is one of them. If you're performing an SEO audit, it can really help you to identify issues or areas that on your site that need improvement. So let's take a quick look at the audit that we ran for IRMA so that I can highlight some of the things that are most important for you to address. So in Search Console, we were looking at 4XX error codes. Using a tool like Power Suite or Ahrefs helps us to hone in on those. And it's important to fix any errors that you see with 4XX or 5XX because those are red flags for Google. It's also important to fix any issues that Google sees with HTTP and HTTPS. That sounds like it's a wee bit complicated. It's actually not. HTTP, if you go to any site, let me just go to a site. Typically, you will see HTTP or HTTPS at the start here. HTTPS is just a security protocol. All sites should have HTTPS, and if your Google sees that you're linking to an article that doesn't have that level of security, Google sees that as a red flag. So all you need to do is go in and add the HTTPS at the start of your URL to fix that issue. Alt tags is another important one. Broken links is hugely important. You don't want Google to see any broken links on your website. Your alt tags, this one, empty alt tags. Again, this isn't a Google factor, but this is an accessibility factor. So making sure that when you're adding images to your site, that you also include an alt tag. All that is a description of what the image is, and it's for people who use screen readers. And again, we can see that this site in particular has duplicate titles. It has some too long titles, and it has empty meta descriptions. So it's good to go through and make sure that you're using unique titles, that you're using your keywords and your meta titles, and to make sure that you are properly building up your meta descriptions. Now, this report actually goes into more detail as well. It tells you what all of those broken links are and where to find the issues that they're having with the site. So I know it sounds complicated, but focusing on, in this case, your 4XX errors, the things that are broken will help to improve the rank and positioning of your site. So yes, lots of stuff going on there with the audit. What we typically do when we're working with clients is that we'll identify the things that are priority, and then over time we fix them because, obviously it takes time to fix some of these issues with sites and things. So we do it gradually over time and we prioritize, and SEO Power Suite's a really, really useful tool to help us to do that. So metrics to track your SEO success. We looked at the ones in Search Console. When you're looking in your Google Analytics, things like organic traffic, your click-through rate, your bounce rate, your average engagement time, your scroll depth. That's a topic for a whole other session, but these are the things that you should be checking in on to see for each article and for your SEO. These are the things that are the most important ones. So we've covered the basics of keyword research. Keyword research is really important. It's important to make sure that you use the keywords in all of the right places. We've given you a lot of best practices that will help you to get where you need to be to improve your ranking. We've covered what Search Console is and how to use it to your advantage. I hope you've learned quite a lot from that, and I encourage you to dig in deeper and use the guidelines that we've given you as well. And we've given you metrics that will help you to hopefully track your success. I've also included some resources for you here. So some of the tools that we use to track your keywords, to determine your page speed and your responsiveness as well. So you could go off and use these in your own time to make your articles even better.
Can you show us how to see the percent and page ranking in the search results page of Search Console? I'm familiar with using it, but can only see clicks and impressions. And Jeremy, if you want to engage in this, like, feel free to turn your mic on and talk to Mhairi about it.
Absolutely. I might need to get you to repeat your question.
Yeah, thanks, Joyce. Hi, Jeremy here from Seekers Media. So when I go into my Search Console, so you've got it on the screen there. So I see that first column of numbers and the second column of numbers, but somehow can't seem to access the third and fourth ones.
Okay.
And so that was kind of a revelation to me, because, oh, do I have to be clicked on those at the top?
Yes, that's exactly how you do it. So if you only, like, you can actually remove them. So if you only wanted to see the clicks, then you can add these. And yes, Google, I think, defaults to the first two. And it's not that obvious to know that if you choose the wee checkbox here, that then you can see your click-through rate and your positioning. And it's a
simple fix. Oh, thank you. I wish I'd known that one sooner.
There you go. Yeah, it's easily overlooked for sure.
The position column.
Yes.
Why isn't that higher for something that is a homepage?
I was surprised by that too.
Okay. We'll have to dig into that with them.
I'm happy to dig in. Jeremy, if you want to have a quick call with me, I'll dig into it a wee bit with you. But I was surprised by it too. And I feel like when I was looking at this, I was playing around with things and looking at it earlier, I was actually seeing different results. So it kind of depends on what you're searching for. But let's maybe look at, I don't want to mess around too much on the call. Oh, there we go.
Okay. That makes more sense.
This is more, I'm not sure what I did there to make that different, but this is more what you would be looking for. Alberta Views is number one, as it should be. But yeah, this is much more like the thing here.
Okay, I'm going to throw up a couple of the other questions from Trlee. Hi, if you have time, can you discuss Google Discover, which seems like a bit of a mystery? Do you have like an elevator speech on Google Discover?
Google Discover. What is Google Discover?
Okay, then.
Well, it's probably just something that I'm familiar with a different name.
Maybe. They're always changing the names of things. You mentioned while we were looking at the site that I manage that has all of the errors. I have slowly over the course of the year been using tools to address those errors. So that's something that I think if you make part of your workflow is to look at that report on a regular basis, download some of the links that are acting up and, change them. I did find a lot of those HTTP, not HTTPS links. That it's a fairly easy fix, but you have to go in and do every single one individually, which is a bit of a pain. Did you find Google Discover?
It's something that it's not something that we use that often, quite honestly. So I'm not that familiar with it, and it's probably information that we're finding in other ways. But it can help you get updates about your interests, sports teams. I'm not sure how you would optimize it, for example, specifically. I know that, and I think this is what it is. When I open Google myself, I get, I shouldn't even say this. I get the Canucks scores. I get the Scotland football scores. It's kind of specific to the things that I'm looking for. I think that's what it is, but I'm not 100% sure. And it's not something that we necessarily take into account. But again, I'm happy to follow up if, I'm not sure whose question that was, but I'm happy to dig into it a wee bit in more detail.
I'll put it on my list of things as well to keep an eye on and find an expert on. Sean from Alberta Views says, with social media sites putting a ban on most Canadian news accounts, are there any emerging best practices in SEO to be aware of to address this hurdle? So is there any correlation between, a specific correlation between things that we should be doing in SEO and the ban, the Facebook ban or Instagram ban?
Yeah, it's a really, really difficult question. It's early days and it's hard to know what the best thing to do will be. As far as social media, you know, they're just not allowing you to share your content on that platform at all. I know that I expect that that's coming with Google. I think now is the time to make sure that you're reaching out to people and making sure they know how to access you directly as well. Reinforcing what your URL is, making sure that that is front and center in all your communications so that people know where to find you regardless.
Yeah, we had a conversation in another group I had a conversation with about this. There's quite a bit of misinformation about what's happening too. So from the perspective of an organization like Alberta Views, it's really good, I think, to include that information in your newsletter, that it's action taken by Facebook. If you want to find our material, make sure you're getting our newsletter, make sure you bookmark our site, those sorts of things.
Right. And sorry, Joyce, I was going to say I believe that, you know, you can still do that on social media. So I encourage people to sign up to your newsletter through your social feeds. That's going to be a really great way to get that out at this point as well.
You can buy an ad on Facebook to say that.
Yeah. So
that may be a very good use of a Facebook ad at the moment. A sponsored post. They will run your sponsored post. They'll take your cash.
That's right. I'm happy to take your money.
So Jennifer, oh, hang on. Okay, so Jennifer asks if your current URL structure has the word like articles in the URL. Should it be structured site-wide? Should they restructure to remove that word article in the URL structure? So is the URL structure that's being introduced by the pages, posts, articles in WordPress or whatever CMS, is it relevant to how the pages are ranking?
There's lots of different components that come into this question. And it kind of depends. What I would do is I would actually go into your Google Analytics and see how much traffic those pages are getting. If you're getting lots of traffic and you've got lots of backlinks, I wouldn't necessarily make any changes on your URL. If you do make changes in your URLs, you need to make sure that you're setting up redirects for them. Especially to pages that are getting lots of traffic or have backlinks to them. That's really important for SEO. As a common practice, yes, to make your site easy to navigate, you should have, you know, the name of your URL /article/ whatever the specific article is, because that's good structure, good navigation for your website. But if your website's really established and you've already got lots of articles, I would go into analytics and make some check out your traffic and your backlinks before you made any changes. If you do make changes, make sure you've got redirects set up. Because if you make changes and without your redirects, you're going to mess everything up, and that's really bad for your SEO.
Yeah. Sorry. Hi, everybody. That was my question. So we should keep articles in there then for the, like, our entire site is structured like that. So it's like this article does super well, has a bunch of links. So, I mean, if we were going to change it, we would definitely just use an alias. But going forward for new articles, would it be better to skip the word article in the URL structure for SEO purposes or keep that in there?
Oh, can I take a wee look at your website?
Yes, for sure.
So let me open it so we can all see it. I don't see articles in your menu. So moving forward, as a website builder, are your articles organized under cat care, cat life, community? Or
Yeah, so there's sort of like a main channel, which would be like cat care or cat life, which the
Yep.
majority of the articles live under, and then they're like grouped under, say, like behavior. Then there'd be a bunch of behavior related articles, such as this one.
this is a really, really good question. Cat channel. Oh, I see what you mean. So because articles aren't one of your main navigation menu items, I would actually don't do it right now. I would, if I were to be redesigning your site, I would actually take that articles out, because you've already got your cat care. So it would almost be moderncat.com/cat care/article that it's under.
Okay. And then for specific articles, would you remove the word article altogether? So it would be, for example, moderncat.com/12 sounds your cat makes, or do you want to keep the word article in the structure of an individual article's URL, if that makes sense?
I would remove it, but I'm not suggesting that you should remove it from your old articles unless you do your due diligence in Google Analytics, because again, you don't want to just remove that and then find that you've got all of a sudden got all kinds of broken links, because Google has indexed this with articles in it. So if you remove it, then Google sees that as broken.
Okay,
yeah.
Got it. Okay, thank you.